So the curtain about to rise on the great showpiece of the English game. A huge global audience tuning in, hoping as we do here in this celebrated stadium that Arsenal and Newcastle can lay on a football feast to match the occasion. The old stadium, as ever on this so prestigious day, is a backcloth of colour, the red and white of Arsenal bending with Newcastle's black and white in huge waves from all points of the arena. Hardly an arduous journey here for the Arsenal fans, many of whom have simply hopped on the local underground for a short trip across the capital. Contrast for the Geordies. It's been, for most of them, a much more tiring expedition down from the northeast. Worth every moment, given the length of time since Newcastle last made it to a Wembley Cup final. 1974 was the year. My co-commentator, Ray Clements, will remember it well, as he, of course, was keeping goal for the opposition that afternoon, facing a certain Malcolm McDonald. Ray.
Yes, it was a memorable day for Liverpool and myself, obviously winning the FA Cup for the first time, but for Malcolm, who's down there in the tunnel, I don't think it was quite so memorable. He had one of those days where it just didn't go for him. I think he'd be the first to admit he built himself up all week and it didn't quite work on the day.
What are your memories of that, Malcolm?
I remember that day so well when I walked out of there, yes. And I was looking across at Ray Clements back in 1974. Ray, what was in your mind as you looked across at me in that tunnel 3 years after you kicked my teeth out?
He's not hearing you at the moment, but I'm sure he does have memories of that occasion. Arsenal mean and magnificent under Arsene Wenger's tutelage are clear favourites as they seek to become only the second team in English history after Manchester United to achieve the double-double. But Newcastle have in manager Kenny Dalglish, a canny figurehead so familiar with this particular scene, and with a certain predatory number 9 prowling that Wembley turf in the Magpies attack. Well, who could confidently say that this year's final is any kind of foregone conclusion? Arsene Wenger, what a season it's been for him at the helm for the Gunners. Two of English football's most famous names in conflict today, both with 6 FA Cup final wins apiece. They've met twice before in the final, in 1932 and again 20 years later. Newcastle, as we've heard, winning on each occasion. Well, this season has so far belonged very much to Arsenal. Their 11th league championship secured just a couple of weeks ago, while Newcastle, despite their progress in the Cup, have had a real struggle in the Premier, in the end finishing just 4 points clear of the relegation places. After that, the turmoil behind the scenes with the scandal involving those two shamed directors, and it's no wonder really that Newcastle are so anxious to repay their supporters' faith in them. A few own goals off the pitch, they could do with 1 or 2 at the right end today. So the team's preparing for the presentations. Doing the honours, their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Kent. The Duke is the president of the Football Association. Also on hand, Keith Wiseman, chairman of the FA, and the chief executive, Graham Kelly. It's a wonderful atmosphere at Wembley this afternoon. And I'm sure for you, Ray Clements, now the memories are flooding back as you see this scene here.
Well, it is a special occasion of footballer's life, and you know, 1 or 2 of them have experienced it before, but there's a lot that haven't, and today's a very colourful occasion as well. I don't think there's, certainly on the Newcastle side, to our right-hand side, I don't think there's one Newcastle supporter who hasn't bought a replica shirt. It's totally black and white stripes, and there's an awful lot to the left in terms of the Arsenal as well, but a marvellous colourful occasion, and we're in for a special match, I believe.
Well, we always look for signs of nerves at this stage. First, the national anthem. So on with the formalities. The Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Kent, being presented first to the Newcastle team by their captain Robert Lee. Skippering Newcastle today, having come back from injury. I don't think there was too much doubt that he would be in the team, indeed that he would be wearing the armband today. Alan Shearer, who was captain in his absence, said, no way do I want it that day, it's Rob Lee's. And he has been such an influence for them down the years. Shaka Hislop will be the reserve goalkeeper today. And there is Kenny Dalglish. Well, the canny Scotsman, can he pull off? I think what will be, Ray, a major surprise today if they do win?
Yes, I think, talking to a number of Newcastle fans outside, as much as they're desperate for their side to win, they do believe that if Arsenal hit the sort of form that won the Championship, they'll find it difficult to cope with. But, what Kenny has done this year, he's made them very resilient and very difficult to play against, and that gives the Newcastle fans some hope.
Well, Tony Adams has seen it all before, of course. Captain of Arsenal, and hoping to become the first Gunners captain to lift the FA Cup twice. There's Christopher Wray, the Liberian, who will only have heard a short while ago that he was in the starting lineup. Overmars, of course, was a certainty. He's been a revelation in the second part of the season. Jean Gramondi, the Frenchman there next to Vieira. And, of course, Steve Bold, the oldest outfield player in the Arsenal squad. Only among the substitutes today, but he has certainly played his part in their highly successful campaign. They look pretty relaxed out there, Ray.
Well, there's an awful lot of experience on the Arsenal side, isn't there? There's a few years there, but there's immense experience, and that has showed in the latter half of the season when everybody said they're under severe pressure to win the title. They've kept going because they're used to that sort of pressure.
Paul Durkin is the referee today from Portland Bill in Dorset. He's also England's representative at the World Cup finals. Introducing Duke of Kent there to Bill Jordan from Hertfordshire and Phil Johnston from Nottinghamshire. The fourth official is Graham Barber from Surrey, who's also a FIFA ref. Kenny Dalglish, a winner here as a player and as a manager. His experience could be invaluable today as he plans his tactics against this Arsenal team which has taken the English scene by storm. So let's take a check then on the Wembley lineups this afternoon. And how significant, I wonder, will the loss of the injured Dennis Bergkamp be for Arsenal? A sad day for the Dutchman as he misses out on his first Wembley final. But what a moment for Liberian Christopher Wray, chosen as partner for 19-year-old Anelka up front, ahead of Ian Wright. Elsewhere, no surprises. Dixon, Adams, Keown and Winterburn at the back. The two Frenchmen, Vieira and Petit, who form such an accomplished combination, patrol the centre of midfield, with Parler and the effervescent Overmars in particular, hoping to open up Newcastle along the flanks.
Well, as you say, it's a tried and trusted back four. It picks itself with David Seaman behind it. And of course, Vieira and Petit have been so influential with the help of Parler in midfield. Mark Overmars will cause problems down that left-hand side, I'm sure. And the big surprise, I think, is Christopher Wray playing and Ian Wright being left out. It's a young front two, and it'll be very interesting to see how they cope with their first Wembley appearance.
Well, out to Newcastle, and with Keith Gillespie ruled out injured, it's pretty much the expected team, really, that Kenny Dalglish has chosen. Shay Gibbon, the young Irishman, has emerged as first-choice goalkeeper over the season. There's experience at the back, of course, with the veteran Pearce, who was here with Nottingham Forest in the '91 final. He's alongside Howie and the Greek international Dabizas, with Barton and Pistone on the flanks. In midfield, there's the England connection with World Cup hopefuls Batty and the captain Lee. They're joined by Gary Speed, and up front, the Georgian Ketsbaia operates as the main foil for Alan Shearer.
Well, I think there was one or two decisions for Kenny to make. Would he play Howie or Albert? And he's gone for Steve Howie in the back three there. Was there a chance of Steve Watson getting in on that right-hand side? But Warren Barton's got that spot. And of course, up the front, would it be Timuri Ketsbaia or would it be Anderson? And he's gone for Ketsbaia up there. So decisions have been made. I feel that maybe Arsenal might get at the Newcastle back five in the wide areas. But it'll be a very interesting game and one where I'm sure we're going to see some great football.
Well, there's no more inspirational leader in the English game than Tony Adams. His personal confrontation with Alan Shearer could well be a real key point today. Former England captain Adams against Glenn Hoddle's current choice as skipper. Together in France, but such intense rivals this afternoon. 5 goals en route to the final. No question that Alan Shearer provides the big threat to Arsenal's doubled prospects. And it can't have been easy for Arsene Wenger to overlook Ian Wright, but that's a measure really of the progress that this young man has made. Christopher Wray, of course, scored the semi-final winner against Wolves and now has a dream start in the Wembley final. The 117th such occasion at Wembley, the 131st if you include replays, and while Arsenal are the clear favourites, rated evens with Newcastle an 11-4 shot, Wembley can be such a great leveller as Newcastle get us underway, defending the goal to our left. Nerves can play such a big part. How often have we heard it said so ruefully in the past? Well, so-and-so simply didn't perform, didn't rise to the occasion. Both looking for a 7th FA Cup final triumph. There's Lee Dixon, who played it away to Nigel Winterburn. We'll take a check on the subs in a moment. John Barnes among them for Newcastle, hoping for his 5th FA Cup final appearance this afternoon. Here's Shearer. Gets Bayer in pursuit. Keown with a back pass. So these are the 2 benches then today. The veteran Steve Bold, David Platt, Ian Wright, reserve goalkeeper Alex Meninga, and the Frenchman Jules Grimondi for Arsenal. It's Barnes, Hislop, Watson, Albert and Anderson, the Swede, waiting in reserve for Newcastle. This is Kitsbayer, who's keeping Anderson out of the starting lineup. Not too happy with the way things have been going at Newcastle. He's talking about perhaps moving on come the end of the season. Maybe he'll change his mind now he's in the starting lineup.
Well, I think his big problem has been that he's not been in the starting lineup enough. He's been substitute for most of the season. He's been coming on for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, occasionally half a game. And maybe he doesn't think that Kenny Dalglish has total belief in. Well, he certainly has today because he's put him in that starting lineup.
Here's Overmars. How much will he relish the open spaces of Wembley today? That was Pistone with the challenge. Bill Durkin, the biggest day of his life, gets to being very nervous. And why not on such an occasion? And who knows what crucial decisions he's going to give today. Overmars with the corner. Petit looking for the flick on at the near post. Here's Overmars again. It's a teasing ball in, only partially cleared as far as Ray Parlour. One of the major successes for Arsenal this season. How much his game has developed under Arsene Wenger. So that's a foul by Parlour, who of course only just missed out on the latest England squad. I think Ray Clements, with your England hat on, he was pretty close, wasn't he?
He was very close, yes. There was a lot of debate went on about who was going to be in and who wasn't. And unfortunately, Ray just missed out on this year. But he's had a great season. You know, he's got himself in and around the squad, and if he continues that form at the start of next season, I'm sure he'll be considered again. But he's still young enough to be, you know, a big part in the England setup in the future.
A scorching day at Wembley. The temperature is bound to play a part, especially later on when the teams begin to tire. Away by the redoubtable Adams. In goes Barton. Then Pistone. Pistone, it would seem, Ray, detailed to pick up Overmars.
Yes, certainly. That's they obviously feel that Overmars is a danger man. They're doubling up on him. That Barton or Pistone are following him everywhere. And Overmars certainly, when Bergkamp is out of the side, has been the person who's taken on the mantle of being the creative playmaker and also being one who scores vital goals.
Here's David Daffy. His duel with Vieira in the midfield is going to be so crucial as well. Now, Stuart Pearce. 36 now. Still with so much enthusiasm. Not resting on this young man's shoulders. Christopher Wray scored some very important goals for Arsenal, including that one in the semi-final against Wolves. Who would have thought at the start of the season that Anelka and Ray would be the first choice partnership up front? Well, of course, injuries have played a big part in the absence of Bergkamp, but Wenger kept faith with Ray and Anelka when many observers were saying he needed to bring in more experienced players as cover. And that faith in them was paid off.
Well, Anelka certainly has been outstanding in this last third of the season. Certainly he had one or two problems adjusting early on. His work rate was questioned, his commitment was questioned at times when he first came into the side. It all seemed a bit much to him, but let's remember he's still a teenager and he's come on leaps and bounds. But this will certainly be his big test, an atmosphere, intimidating atmosphere, and also, you know, a very, very hot day which can, you know, soon drain a player.
Here's Petit. Lovely ball in for Overmars. Through from Babizas. That was Pistoni covering. 5 minutes gone in the FA Cup final. No score. And a rather nervous clearance there by Shea Given. Chesney ahead of Shaka Hislop and Pavel Cernacek in recent weeks. Cernacek indeed is injured at the moment anyway. Here's Vieira. Now on Anelka. No doubt about Anelka's quality. He was clattered then by Dabizaz. Winterburn hoping to spot an early opportunity, but couldn't deliver.
Yes, Petit was not too happy there, but to be fair to Winterburn, he saw on that far side that Dixon had made a late run, was in acres of space, but unfortunately as he tried to play the ball, Petit just got in his way and it made it impossible for him to play the type of ball that he wanted to.
Here's Katzpire, the first Georgian to play in an FA Cup final. He seemed resigned to being only a substitute today, but Kenny Dalglish had other ideas. Tony Adams with Keown. Such a formidable partnership in the heart of that back line. My word, there's some experience back there with Dixon and Winterburn as well. This is Stuart Pearce. Aiming for Shearer. Keown with a header away. Vieira, excellent play by him, releasing Winterburn. Overmars wants it played ahead of him. Once again, poor service from Winterburn, who looks ruefully at the turf. And Stuart Pearce with an early problem here. Won't bother him, Ray, will it?
No, it won't bother him, but if Paul Durkin sees it, it will bother him, because obviously the rules of the game now, any blood around the face, any cuts on the head, you've got to go off and get it stemmed. So when Paul Durkin sees that, I'm sure he'll stop play and some form of treatment will have to be taken.
Certainly referees won't take risks with head injuries. Dixon. Good run by Parla. Away down that right side. And certainly a timely intervention by Steve Howie as Parla went surging forward there. Great break by Parla.
Well, it was. He drew Stuart Pearce in towards him and then quickly sped past him, and Stuart didn't quite have the legs to get after him, and Steve Howie did well to get across. And here, exactly, Paul Durkin spotted the cut now, and as we mentioned, he'll have to be sorted out.
So Pearce needing some attention here. Whether that might need a stitch or two, we wait to see. Well, he's had a super season, Stuart Pearce, but he's been free of injury. Although no longer needed by his country, he's been left out of the latest England party. His desire remains undiminished.
Yes, I mean, he's been a great, he still is a great professional, and he's had a tremendous England career. And typical of Stuart, when Glenn told him that unfortunately he wasn't going to be in this last squad, he was obviously disappointed because he loves playing for England. But, you know, after his disappointment, the first thing he said was, well, you know, the most important thing now is go out there and bring the cup back for us all. And that's typical Stuart Pearce.
Adams and Keown have both come up for this corner kick. Taken by the Frenchman Petit, who didn't started to come for it and then retreated. And that was something of an escape then for Newcastle. They've got the free kick, but he's going to be a threat, isn't he, Adams, on these set pieces? He
is, yes, but Paul Durkin, I think you'll see there, you can see Tony Adams climbing all over the back of the Newcastle defender there, and quite rightly Paul Durkin on the spot and gives the free kick. But at set pieces they will be dangerous when they've got the likes of Adams and Vieira, Keown, Petit. People like this are excellent in the air and will cause Newcastle one or two problems.
People have been asking Tony Adams all week about how he'll cope with Shearer. He said, never mind about that. How's he going to cope with me when he comes back to defend? Offside here against Anelka. Still with so much to learn, Anelka, but there's no doubt about his quality. He's a real class act.
Well, it's a dangerous game for Newcastle to play that. Trying to play offside. Yes, on that occasion he was.
Only
but
just.
He's so quick that you keep trying the offside tactic against Anelka. He will get through against you. That's a certainty. So Newcastle have to be so spot on, otherwise it'll cause them an embarrassment.
It was a very close call then against Anelka, 19-year-old. Tony Adams at the other end of his career, but still so important for club and country. The jump by Gary's speed is very useful in the air. This is Vieira. 10 minutes into the final. Pearce hoofing it forward towards Alan Shearer. Adams is there. Then Dixon. The challenge by Anelka. He certainly found it hard to cope with the physical demands of the English game initially, but he has adapted. So has Christopher Wray, his front-running partner this afternoon. Here's Ketsbaia, full of running. He's done well here. Still Ketsbaia. Well, no power behind the shot, but it nearly embarrassed David Seaman.
Well, I think David was in control of that situation, or he did leave it very late. But this, for me, sums up Ketsbaia. Some wonderful skill there. Creates a half an opportunity for himself and has a shot. But the problem sometimes I feel with Ketsbaia is he gets into those areas and there's people in better positions he could actually slip a ball to, and he doesn't see that. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons that Kenny hasn't started him in so many games.
Hoping to complete a treble of cup victories. Ketsbaia having won the competition twice in Greece with AEK Athens, his previous club. Tony Adams, who's enjoyed so many successes down the years with Arsenal. Here's Pistone. And then Barton, an Arsenal fan as a youngster, used to stand on the North Terrace. Now this is David Batty driving forward for Newcastle, but not on the same wavelength there as Alan Shearer. Tony Adams with time to compose himself.
Well, here's it's a really fierce challenge there from David Batty, but for me, he made contact with the ball first, and Vieira's going to have to deal with that.
Batty sent off in the final league game against Blackburn. This is Pistone, and he had the pace then to contend with Overmars. So far, the Dutchman has been pretty much subdued by Pistone. Here's Spartan. Then Gary's speed, he gave it away carelessly too. Ray Parlour. And Ketsbaia, Parlour nicking it away from him. Options right and left. Ray Parlour might go for goal. A good tackle by Howie, and then offside Anelka, who once again was guilty of not looking along the line.
Well, I think he made a great run on the outside of Ray Parlour just before. Here we see, watch Anelka. If he knocks him in now, he's got a real chance. But once Parlour comes back onto his left foot, there's no chance for Anelka to get back onside. But certainly, Parlour felt he could get a shot in. That's fair enough. But certainly, probably looking at it afterwards, he would think maybe I should have laid it into Anelka.
Parlour, who has worked so hard this season at timing his runs, and he certainly made a telling early contribution in this game. Good jump by Lee. Pearce. A long ball for Shearer. Ketsbaia ahead of him. Arms aloft from the Arsenal back line, and Ketsbaia has indeed strayed offside. How do you feel the game's settling down, Ray?
Well, probably Arsenal are just about edging us at the moment, but as usual in cup finals and any big games really, there's a lot of sparring going on at the moment. Nobody in total control of it. Arsenal have had a couple of half chances. Really, Newcastle haven't as yet. The interesting thing so far for me is, say, Overmars out on this left-hand side, and you just wonder if he goes over onto that right-hand side, will Pistone go with him, or will they leave it for Pearce to deal with over on that side? And that will be interesting if it happens.
Well, that was solid defending then from Robert Lee, the Newcastle captain. Dixon with the throw. Got a glimpse just now of Ian Rush, who hasn't made the sub-stretch for Newcastle today. Rush, of course, scorer of 5 Wembley Cup final goals, the most in the history of the competition. I just wonder whether Kenny Dalglish might have seen him today as a lucky omen to have him in reserve, but he's decided not to take that opportunity. Keown. This is Vieira. Now Petit, and he was caught then by the tackle from Gary Speed, the Welsh international. Vieira with the free kick. Adams, Vieira again. "15 minutes gone in the first half. No real chance for either side created as yet, but that's Vieira now, seeking out Petit, who does make these timely runs from midfield. And Gibbon has carried the ball over the line for the corner.
Yes, there's no doubt in this. Shay Gibbon gets his hands on it before it goes over. Momentum, he can't stop it. There he goes, over the line. Good decision by the linesman over that far side.
Pistone with that back header. Adams on his way forward again. They've got Keown in there. Again, Gibbon thought about coming, but then thought better of it.
Well, it's half a chance there for Anelka. He's got a free header. He's got half a yard of space, as you'll see. There's nobody really challenging him, and he'll be disappointed he hasn't got that on target. But it is a problem for Newcastle, and really Shay Gibbon needs to come in and help them around that 6-yard area. But you know, if he has a little problem, it is he's not the biggest goalkeeper in the world, and he's a tremendous shot stopper. But dealing with those situations sometimes becomes a problem for him.
But is he going to be suspect this afternoon against the likes of Keown and Adams? A wayward kick then by Stuart Pearce, who of course scored in that 91 final against Tottenham, but eventually finished up on the losing side with Nottingham Forest. Is that Dennis Bergkamp under that hat? I couldn't quite see there. Certainly he was very, very upset, Bergkamp, at missing out on the final this afternoon. In tears when he had to break the news to his wife. And this, of course, after earlier in the week he'd seemed a certainty to play for all his injury problems.
Yeah, Stuart Pearce at his best there, wasn't it?
Yeah, or his worst, whichever way you look at it.
Showing commitment, going through everything that was in his way. There's the first one, and here's the next one. There you are, Mr. Ray. This is what's an FA Cup final. You need to show a little bit of commitment.
Welcome to the Cup final. Paul Durkin giving the free kick then to Arsenal. Dixon will take it. Ian Wright, I was going to say warming up, he doesn't need to do that. Not this afternoon in these soaring temperatures. But he'll be so keen to get out there, Wright. For all the injury problems that he's sustained this season. Finally back in the frame again. Ray, who's keeping him out of the lineup today. This is Parla. Hustled out of his stride by Gary Speed. Haven't really seen the best of Gary Speed since his move to Newcastle. No doubt about his talent. Not really settled yet up at St James's Park. Off the head of Dixon for a throw to Newcastle. 27 degrees down there at pitch level.
No, it's a problem for the players. You know, looking from our vantage point, there's a lovely breeze. The flags are fluttering quite a lot in front of us, but down on that pitch, the breeze doesn't get there, and it gets very, very hot. You know, 27 degrees, and it'll probably get hotter as the game goes on, I would think.
But neither side as yet establishing any real command. Such a difference in their league form. Arsenal simply going from strength to strength as the season wore on. But Kenny Dalglish's team, well, they eventually only just finished clear of relegation. their worst position since the new Premier League was formed a few seasons back. Petit being hounded there by Rob Lee. Free kick to Arsenal, which Vieira can't take from there. Nigel Winterburn. Adams waving teammates forward, but opting instead then for Martin Keown. Defer to Steve Bold, as we thought he would be today. Vieira. He's been the heart and lungs of this Arsenal team. The lovely turn then by Vieira. On goes Parler. Play on, says Paul Durkin. Dixon to Parler again. Good flowing football here from Arsenal. Parler's cross. Oh, and Nelka over the bar. A glaring missing right in front of goal. And surely that should have been the opener then for Arsenal.
Oh, without a doubt. Superb football by Arsenal, and Parler yet again right in the heart of it. Gets round the outside, and Vieira will never have a better chance of scoring a goal in a cup final. Was he 5 yards out? The keeper's at the near post, open target. He's just got to head it down and just can't manage it. But Parler has started really brightly and is causing the Newcastle back players a lot of problems with his runs from midfield.
He may not get a better chance than that. Nicolas Anelka, the young Frenchman. Defenders had been sucked in. There was no real marking on him, but somehow he contrived to steer it over the bar. Maybe Wembley nerves got the better of it.
Well, it'll now be a test for him now, because obviously, you know, he's not been in the game a lot so far. He's just had a golden opportunity to open his account, has missed it, and now mentally it's how he reacts to that. Will it get him down and affect the rest of his game, or will he now, you know, grit his teeth and say, right, I should have scored there, now I'm actually going to make this game something special for myself.
He's not an out-and-out goal scorer. That was a clear opportunity set up by Ray Parler for him. Kenny Dalglish, I'm sure, will be very concerned about his team's charitable defending. They left him unattended, almost isolated in the middle, Anelka. And Arsenal really should have been in front. Here's Tony Adams, the captain. Ray ahead of him. Good movement again from Arsenal, stabbed on by Petit. Off goes Ray and Anelka. And it was Pearce who came across to curtail that threat. Vieira, Arsenal beginning now to establish a bit of a grip on the game. Winterburn played in for Petit. Vieira. Misplaced pass, a rarity from him. Here's Ketspire back defending, and now David Batty to take it on.
Well, you know, the problem Newcastle have got really is Alan Shearer's being isolated up the front, and the Newcastle players can't get forward to support him, and therefore Arsenal keep gaining possession of the ball and have time to play it around and drag the Newcastle players around to create spaces for themselves.
No foul on Shearer. Away goes Patrick Vieira, striding forward for Arsenal. Slipped on to Anelka. Parler. Vieira's in the box. Overmars had arrived as well. And it was Warren tracking back with him. But Arsenal now beginning to find their stride. Here's Petit, hoping to play a part in France's World Cup campaign, but only touch and go. The likes of Anelka and Vieira also very much in the reckoning. Here's Overmars, will be there for the Dutch team. He's through here and has scored! Mark Overmars for Arsenal! Halfway through the first half, and well, Newcastle were warned. It had been coming.
Well, you give space behind your defence, and with this pace that Arsenal have got, he gets the other side of Pistone, gets his body across him, Pistone can't touch him, and as Shea Given comes out, just tucks it through his legs. But it's a delightful little ball from Petit, but just look at the pace of Overmars. No way Pistone can get near him, and that's the goal that, to be fair, has been coming for a few minutes, because Arsenal have taken control of it, and Newcastle have spent the majority of this game in their own half of the field.
His 16th goal of the season, to underline his searing acceleration. And how often this season we've seen that ball, that kind of ball played through by Emmanuel Petit. He's so adept with that range of passing. And no one will be more relieved than Nicolas Anelka. But Arsenal have popped up with a goal so soon after his squandered opportunity. Here he is now. Challenged by Dabizas. Free kick to Newcastle. Batty's pass to Steve Howie. Then Pierce. Ketsbayer over on that far side for Newcastle. They haven't really stretched Arsenal defensively at all so far. They need to get Shearer more in the game. Pistone to David Batty. Right there to sea of red now. The Arsenal fans in great heart after the goal from Overmars. Lee. This is Pistone. Now David Batty. By Lee to Barton. Good football here from Newcastle. It's broken up by Parler, but then Batty can go forward again. Shearer's in the centre. Felt he was impeded by Lee Dixon. The referee didn't see it that way and has given the goal kick to Arsenal, who are so hard to break down, Ray.
Well, once they get that goal in front, they've got a reputation over the years. You know, we see this marvellous goal yet again, but they've got a reputation once they get in front. They are difficult to break down, and they've deserved that reputation. But what they've got now is they've got this amazing pace up the front, not just from Overmars, but in Anelka and Ray, and Parler's got pace as well. He's gained the yard this year in the way he's lived his life. And all of a sudden, they've got people who can break from the middle of the field and cause sides embarrassment.
I think all the players have gained a yard or two this season under Wenger. He has instilled so much confidence into their play. Pistone, who simply couldn't contend with the pace of Overmars. Petit, his vision, that released Overmars for the first goal of the afternoon. Nigel Winterburn, caught in possession though by Lee. Well, he started the season a little slowly, Overmars, but over the past few weeks, he has been simply outstanding.
Well, again, he was another player who's come into this country and just found it a while to adjust to the pace and the commitment of the Premiership. But once he did, he's taken it by storm. And, you know, not just this goal, but you think in their Championship, some of the vital goals he scored, you know, one against Manchester United at Old Trafford, I remember in particular. He really has had a big influence on towards the end of the season.
Lee, we're seeing a lot of the ball in the first half. But still, they can't get Shearer away. Ray Parler is having a storming match for the Arsenal. Dixon to Ray. Well, that to fend off the challenges too. Here's Vieira, who seems to be available in the centre of the park. By Winterburn. It is Barton's interception. Ketsbayer. There's only Alan Shearer right upfield. They haven't been sufficiently incisive with their attacking so far, Newcastle. Let's see what Pistone can do here. Shearer's made the run for him. It was a poor delivery, and then Adams giving it away. Shearer bending over his cross. Speed lost his footing at the vital moment, but here's Ketsbayer! Certainly a catchable height for David Seaman.
Yes, I mean, an easy save for David Seaman, but at least it's woken up the Newcastle fans. This is the first time they've seen any semblance of a Newcastle attack. Good power in it, but David Seaman in exactly the right position. He's got full sight of the ball from the minute it's struck, and it's a simple save for somebody of his quality.
Well, the first time he's been called upon, really. Let's see what Malcolm McDonald has made of the first half so far. Malcolm?
I've been quite intrigued by it all, I have to say. The difference between the two sides is that when Arsenal are passing, they're so comfortable with it. And they're always passing, always underneath the nose. And yet Newcastle, when they pass, they're stretching for everything. And that they're putting themselves always into difficult situations. And there, to me, is the main difference.
Thank you, Malcolm. In goes Parler with Barton. And the referee has given the free kick to Newcastle. And Barton, who scored at Highbury in the 3-1 defeat Newcastle suffered a few weeks back. Indeed, they've won both games, the Arsenal against Newcastle this season. We're wondering how much Arsenal would miss Dennis Bergkamp today. Not too much at the moment. They have been on top, no question about that, and deservedly are leading. Dabizas, the first Greek player to appear in a Wembley FA Cup final. He's hardly been at the club a couple of months. Gets Bayer, then Gary Speed. Getting more determined defending by Arsenal. Away by Adams to Vieira. This is where they're so dangerous when they set off on the counter-attack. The pace here of Anelka. Exposing Dabizas. Well, there was no finish, but my word, he covered the ground quickly there.
Well, that's not the first time in this opening part of the game that he's gone against Dabizas, and all of a sudden he's been given a yard to catch up, and Anelka's got beyond him in the space of about 10 or 15 yards. He's just got such a lightning pace, and you can see Dabizas just looking over his shoulder thinking, you can't catch me surely, but he does every single time.
Offside against Gary Speed. I mean, they say he lacks aggression in Anelka. It didn't look like it there.
No. And Steve Howe, you know, he's talking to his fellow defenders there, saying we've got to push up more. But I think against Arsenal, if you push up more and give even more space behind you, then you will get caught out, because you know, they don't have. All they've got to do is stay onside the front two, and their pace will give them chances.
Another marginal decision going against Gary Speed there. One of the players that Kenny Dalglish clearly wants to push on from midfield in support of Shearer. But it's Arsenal calling the tune, at least they were. Here's Shearer now, on for Kets Bayer. Well, he'd seen Rob Lee, but so too had Lee Dixon, bringing all his experience to bear there. Decade, of course, with Arsenal, Lee Dixon. But then the back line have been together for so long. They know each other's game so well. Winterburn, he's 34 now. On by Batty, Adams with great anticipation. Anelka. On by Lee, who's working really hard for Newcastle. Pierce. But so far, they're getting little change out of that Arsenal back line. Dabizas to Pistone. Barton. A good tackle by Winterburn. Dabizas on Anelka then. Anelka felt it was a foul. Paul Durkin didn't concur with that opinion. Here's David Batty. Howie has been preferred to Philippe Albert, the Belgian international in the Newcastle team today. Shearer stretching, and he's not getting the service.
No, he's getting a very poor service. Newcastle have got a problem on the right-hand side as well. Pistone on this right-hand side, and Warren Barton in front of him. Warren Barton's pushing inside to try and help Robert Lee and David Batty in the midfield areas, so that when Pistone gets the ball, he's got no outlet outside of him at all, and every time he gets it, he's looking for somebody to come into a wide area to receive it, and they don't do it.
Well, that was a mistake by Robert Lee. This is Overmars. Again, stretching Newcastle. This time they had sufficient cover. But it was nervous work then from Lee, of all people. Adams in ahead of Kets Bayer. Shearer has scored 5 times en route to the final, including winning goals in 3 games. Of course, his season only began with the 4th round tie against Stevenage. Usual determination there. In goes Ray, and he was bundled over. Free kick to Arsenal. Who have got into the winning habit. See, they lost only 6 times in the entire Premier League programme. Simply magnificent in the second half of the season. And hoping to bring that form to Wembley. Well, they have the upper hand so far, thanks to the goal midway through this first period from Mark Overmars. Adams, wide to Winterburn. Vieira switching the play, and then by Keown to Ray Parlour. It was Speed who won it back for Newcastle. Pierce, again it's long towards Shearer. He lost out there in his personal duel with Tony Adams. Getting no sympathy from the referee. And Anelka, Dabizas have been hauled down. But he is causing him no end of problems.
Oh, he's frightening him to death. He's frightening him every time Anelka gets against him. He knows that he's got a chance of beating him and getting beyond him, and that certainly is frightening the Greek international. And it's making him panic when he's got the ball. Even he's not composed on the ball at all because he's frightened of being caught with it.
Batty. Now Howie, who knows this setting, of course, from his England experience. Likewise, David Batty. Katzbauer. Now Gary Speed. Some fluency here from Newcastle, but can they find a flourish at the end of it? 10 minutes of the first half remaining. Overmars back in possession for Arsenal. Then Christopher Wray. Overmars is down, clutching his leg at the moment. To the battering there. Katzbauer. Overmars back on his feet, but somewhat gingerly. Pistone. Shearer calling far post. They haven't really had the idea so far to unhinge Arsenal.
No, I mean, as I say, down the right-hand side, Warren Barton's doing his best there, but he's not a wide right midfield player. You know, when they haven't got Gillespie, they've got no natural width down this right-hand side, and it's causing them problems. It's one part of the field they're not really capable of playing into.
Should be Shay Gibbons here. Yeah, no question. Keith Gillespie could have been very significant with his pace on the flank for Newcastle today. He's been suffering from an ankle injury, and they'd hoped to get him fit in time. But in the end, his fit to recover, his fight to make it in time, fell through. Arsenal are so well organised. Newcastle at the moment are baffled as to how they can get past. At the head of Keown. But that was out of play. A Sunday afternoon at Wembley. Newcastle fans doing their best to lift their team. It's a real day out for them. Seeking their first domestic trophy, remember, Newcastle, since 1955. Laid off by Speed, that was Batty. And it won't have pleased his manager, Kenny Dalglish. Not renowned for his goal-scoring prowess, David Batty. Though he did score against Barnsley in one of the earlier rounds. The Seamen so far untroubled. Dabizas, the master in the air on that occasion. That was Howie. Dabizas climbing high against Anelka, who looked quizzically towards the referee. The word on Dabizas is that he has settled very quickly out at St James's Park. That was Shearer. I think you've seen him a couple of times, haven't you?
I have, yes, and to be fair, I've been impressed with him a couple of times. He's looked composed on the ball, he's looked comfortable, but today, certainly Anelka has frightened him to death. And you know, we're looking at Alan Shearer there. He must be very, very frustrated. He's not really got in the game at all. He hasn't had the service. And certainly they can't get up to support him. You know, Arsenal have done a superb job of not only containing Newcastle, but also breaking against them and causing them problems at the back.
Shearer against Keown. Now David Batty. They are at least enjoying some possession at the moment, Newcastle. But can they turn it to good effect? Warren Barton, who's been one of their most effective players in recent games. It's Winterburn with the clearance, only as far as Pearce. Now Shearer. It's broken up by Keown, but at the expense of a free kick. He felt he won it fairly. Paul Durkin didn't. So
Well,
here's an opportunity.
Well, certainly it's a tackle from behind, and that's something that Martin Keown needs to pick up on very quickly, because if he's going to be going out to the World Cup, then those sort of things are not going to be allowed.
Now, will it be the right of Alan Shearer or the left boot of Stuart Pearce? They're both pretty effective in their own way. Pearce, who scored with a free kick in that 91 FA Cup final, but it's going to be Shearer, and he's bent it too high. His first major cup final, Alan Shearer.
Yes, it's never going in. David Seaman always in control there. There was never a problem. And, you know, Alan Shearer, we know he's capable of doing that, but sometimes when you're not in a game for a while and not having a big influence on the game, sometimes you get frustrated, and when you get the opportunity like you had then, you snatch at it and don't make the sort of contact that you would do normally.
Adams to Petit, closed out quickly and eagerly by Lee. Now Barton, they're certainly making a fight of it in the midfield, Newcastle. With Lee and with Batty and speed. This is Alessandro Pistone, the former Italian under-21 captain. Lee, on to speed. This is encouraging now for Newcastle. At least it would have been had there been a better cross there from Pistone, who had time too on the ball. No wonder he's looking forlorn, Kenny Dalglish. They haven't had too much service into the middle from the flanks. But that was certainly an opening then for Pistone. A lot of rumours that he might be on his way come the end of the season, and he says no, he's anxious to see out his contract. 4 minutes of the first half to go. Off goes Parler, who's been so influential. Christopher Ray, lovely first touch. Not quite the second to match. Silky skills then from the Liberian.
It started again by that man, Ray Parler. You know, he nicks the ball and then plays a lovely ball through there, and it just sat up nicely for Christopher Ray, but just falling off it and couldn't keep it down. But it was a delightful first touch in the first place to enable him to get that shot in.
Such a snip at £300,000 from Monaco, Christopher Ray. Getting more chances this season than he might have anticipated, with injuries to Wright and De Bergkamp. Adams against Bott. He was always going to be there first. Magnificent leader at the back, Tony Adams. The problems he's had in his personal life, he's put behind him. Barton. Now Pistone. Caught in two minds, really. Shearer not amused.
Well, he's obviously saying, if there's no width down the right-hand side, don't play it down there. Get it into me in the box, and I just might be able to create something for you. But you keep playing balls into areas where people don't want to go, we're never going to create anything.
Pistone, who's missed a third of the season with illness. He's been struggling with tonsillitis. Again, he's finally had the tonsils out this week. Gavizas with the back pass, under threat from Anelka. They can't relax for a moment back there, Newcastle. The speed off the mark of Nicolas Anelka. Keown hoisted forward. Anelka on his way back, clearly offside. But sensibly, the assistant keeping his flag down to enable play to keep flowing. That was Keown, again policing Alan Shearer. It is mainly Keown who is picking up Shearer. Adams watching Ketsbaia. Lee, the captain, doing his best to lead by example, but in a threatening position. But who was there covering? Tony Adams. Vieira to Ray. Good tackle then by Gavizas. Beautifully timed. Here's Barton. We're in the last minute now of the first 45. Gavizas appealing for offside, but no way. Overmars now. He's got Parlour alongside. Rick Parlour! They broke so quickly then on the counter-attack. And Newcastle once again were floundering.
Well, it's a chance again. There's no way it's offside. There's a one-against-one situation, and you think Overmars might go all the way on his own, but a Parlour appears, a lovely ball into him, but Ray Parlour just snatched it, got underneath it, and it flew over the bar. And Ray Parlour puts his head in his hands. He knows that's a good opportunity, and really, he should have tried to keep that down.
Well, it's been his best season for Arsenal. No two ways about that. He has scored 6 times. But way off the beam that time. But Arsenal have had the chances. Just the 1 goal so far. Scored by Mark Overmars. We're now into time added on. And here is Dabizas. Swapping passes with Gary Speed. Ken Shearer is the outlet. Adams seemed to be leaning into him. Shearer certainly thought so. Oh, he's looking a little dangerously then, the Arsenal captain.
Well, it's 6-1. Look, you see also Shearer's backing into Tony Adams as well, and that makes him, Alan Shearer's very, very good at that, and gains free kicks for fun off it normally. But Paul Durkin saw that, and Tony Adams could do nothing else than come over the top of him.
Mates off the park, Shearer and Adams, but not on it. In goes Ray. Dabizas to the rescue. Pierce, and then the Greek defender. Dabizas getting it away. An offence now by Keown on Ketspire. And now into the 2nd minute of stoppage time. Paul Durkin just helping Ketspire back on his feet. I don't think he was too convinced that the injury was that serious.
No, I think certainly it was more of it was made of it than what actually happened from our viewpoint up here. But Paul Durkin did an excellent job there, saying, hey, I'm not going to book him, so don't try it.
Shearer with Adams again. Ooh, Shearer went in very late then on Adams. Well, he's been in trouble recently, Alan Shearer, for 1 or 2 controversial incidents, including his lunge at Neil Lennon in the recent game with Leicester, and now he's been shown the yellow card for his very late tackle on Tony Adams.
Yes, you can't say he is late. I don't think he catches Tony too badly, but it's still a late challenge, and quite rightly goes in the book for it.
Tony Adams was straight back on his feet, back in the fray, no complaint from him. And no complaints from Arsenal, as they have a half-time lead thanks to this man. Mark Overmars scored on 23 minutes. Blistering pace that took him clear. Anelka, who had a glaring miss. Arsenal certainly could have had more goals. But this was the one. This was the chance, first of all, for Anelka. Only he will know how he managed to guide that one over the bar. And then through goes Overmars. Too strong for Bastoni, too quick for him. And under the spearing body of Shay Given. Beautifully taken goal by Mark Overmars. And Ray, no question, they are good value for this half-time lead.
No, they deserve to be in front, that's an absolute certainty. They've had the better chances. Overmars has caused them problems, and Anelka has caused them quite a lot of problems with his pace. And really, Newcastle have not been in it. They've competed better in the second period of the first half, in the middle of the field, but don't look like creating anything. So Arsenal, quite rightly, are in front and in charge of the game.
So Kenny Dalglish with much to mull over during the half-time interval. His team are trailing Arsenal in the FA Cup final by 1-0. All set then for the second half. Just looking round, no changes to either team. And it's Vieira on the ball for Arsenal. Then Lee Dixon. Playing, of course, in Pat Rice's old position. Shearer's first touch is a bit too delicate. His frustration boiling over at the end of that first half with his booking, Alan Shearer. Needs to keep his temper in check. Rob Lee. Wide of him is Barton. Played in for Shearer. Now for Stoney. He swung that behind and out of play. It really has been a major disappointment for Alan Shearer in terms of the service he's had from the flanks. All right, he's being closed out, Bastoni, but nonetheless, it was a pretty woeful delivery.
It was, and you know, we mentioned delivery from the flanks. One of the problems that Kenny Dalglish has got is you look at the substitutes bench, and really there's nobody there that can supply him natural width. You know, John Barnes is there, but although he's still a great passer of the ball, he doesn't cover long distances anymore, and therefore you think if he's going to come on, he can only play in central midfield, and of course Anders Anderson is going to play up the front, so they haven't really got any options on the bench that could give them that width.
I think the introduction of Barnes might improve the quality of the passing, though. Here's Rob Lee. Adams on the near post. Then Winterburn. Not the best of clearances by him, though. Seized on by Batty. Bastoni. Sloppy touch from Lee. Hoping to be the first Newcastle skipper since the late Jimmy Schooler to lift the FA Cup at Wembley. Jimmy Schooler, who so sadly died just a few weeks ago. Overmars, whose goal divides the two teams. Now Vieira. On by Dixon to Christopher Ray. Parla had made a run ahead of him. Vieira let it roll away from him to Alan Shearer. Barton to his right. Speed getting forward as well. They forced Shearer wide, and he was going nowhere.
But the problem was there. Alan Shearer was the furthest man forward. He's ran 40 yards or 30 or 40 yards with the ball, and there's still no Newcastle player in the box when he gets level with it, and you know, that's a problem for them. You know, he's up there on his own. He's got to create something for himself, because at the moment nobody else is close enough to him to help him.
Well, they found scoring goals a real problem throughout the Premier League campaign, Newcastle. And they're not creating too many worthwhile chances today. Here's Pearce. They found it really hard going against a splendid Arsenal back line, which of course is so often reinforced by the likes of Petit and Vieira, throwing up a blanket just in front of them. Here's Petit now. The late tackle from Warren Barton. It's a hideous challenge. That's going to be another yellow card to follow Alan Shearer's booking.
Yes, again, very late. I mean, I'm not... Yes, I mean, he's caught his left leg. I don't think when he sees that on a video that he's any qualms for not going in the book. Vieira cleverly turns out there, and Warren Barton catches his trailing leg. Thankfully, it's not a real problem to Petit, but certainly it puts an extra pressure onto Warren Barton with a yellow card against his name.
Petit just receiving some attention. He was injured, of course, in the match against Everton recently at Highbury when Arsenal won the championship, and there had been a doubt about him initially in terms of playing in this cup final, but the injury didn't prove to be quite so serious as was first feared. Now Bastoni looping forward down that right side. Vieira back with him though, showing his appetite for industry and hard work. Foul then on Tony Adams. Free kick to Arsenal. Came through to the final the hard way. Arsenal with all their 5 victories away from Highbury.
Just look at the determination of Vieira. He's so vital to him. If there's ever any holes in the Arsenal back four, he fills them in. His legs just absolutely eat up the ground. It's amazing how he covers the ground.
He's got a lot, hasn't he, for a midfield player. Knows when to put his foot in. Certainly has aggression, a competitive element. On by Parla here to Dixon. Aspire had stayed with him, but it was a rash tackle from the Georgian. Can't really complain about that. Well, Barton is trying to, but the referee was totally disinterested, and rightly so. Well, it had to be a foul, surely. He whipped his legs from beneath him. Petit with the free kick. Adams was in there, but made no connection. Now he's got to chase back his Shearer, and he was caught by Winterburn, and that is going to be a yellow card for him. And again, no argument. Shearer sent tumbling by Winterburn. Kitzbauer trying to inject some life into Newcastle's approach play. But he was upended and is now down on the ground, clutching his ankle, I would think. That's Ray. He's got an arm injury, in fact, Kitzbauer.
Yes, I think as he actually fell on the ground there, he either twisted it or actually there was a boot that made contact with it, quite accidentally, but yeah, I think it'll be painful for a couple of minutes, then it'll go away, I'm sure.
The boot was high from Warren Barton. Again, incensed by the decision.
Warren Barton needs to be careful. He's already been booked for a foolish tackle on Petit, and he's the last two instances of appealing to the referee, gesticulating with him, and you know, if Paul Durkin wanted to be, if it goes on too long, he could send him off for that. It could be a second bookable offence.
He also dived in there at Winterburn. Way was he 10 yards away. Just needs to calm down now. Compose himself a little, Warren Barton. On the ball here. Howie. Now Robert Lee. Pierce. Wanting some movement. He's found it with Kitzbauer. Dabizas. Kitzbauer has managed to link up with David Batty. And Seaman comes to collect, having at last been called into action. It's been a quiet cup final for him so far. Overmars. Now Parla. Dabizas, another yellow card. Just a bit.
Yes, I don't think there's any dispute in any of these bookings so far, but it's a shame that you know, the second half has started off this way. You know, we've had a spate of 3 or 4 bookings in the spate in the time of what, 3 or 4 minutes, something like that, and it hasn't really been that sort of game.
Petit, Overmars. Now comes Batty. Ran straight into Petit. I think he made a meal of that then, Batty. And the referee has taken a more lenient view this time.
Well, certainly a signal to David Batty there. Look, I know you were playing for the free kick there, and I'm giving you the free kick, but don't look for it to get him booked as well.
Shearer offside. He's having a busy second half. Paul Durkin, along with his 2 assistants. Gary Speed, tidy play by him. Here's Robert Lee. Barton to Pistone. Batty to Barton. Cross comes Tony Adams. And he made sure that ball was his. But in fact, it came off his arm. And the referee has pointed for a free kick. Adams trotting back into the middle to pick up Alan Shearer. We've got the aerial threat of Gary Speed in there. Shearer looking to attack, along with Dabizas. Goal kick. He's hoping for a double of a kind, with his former club Olympiacos having won the league back in Greece. But no real change, no real sign here, Ray, of the balance of power switching.
No, there isn't. No, there's no real change in pattern of play whatsoever. Kenny has continued believing in what happened in the first half. Again, what times Newcastle have had good possession of the ball. In the last third of the field, they run out of ideas. It's interesting at the moment over the far side that Anders Anderson is warming up. Maybe Kenny is thinking of a little bit of a change there. But also David Platt and Gilles Grimaldi is also warming up, so maybe Arsenal have got one or two little niggles out there as well, which the bench is worried about.
Don't forget Ian Wright on the bench too for Arsenal today. This is Ray Parlour, but harmlessly through to Shay Given, who had never seen Wembley in the flesh before today, let alone played here. The Irishman who moved from Blackburn Rovers, of course, to Newcastle. Here's Barton now, the former, I say former Arsenal fan, he probably still is, but no way does he want them to win today. Overmars clashing with Pistone and Lee. It's been a very competitive start to the second half. Winterburn's free kick. Debisas rather committed himself there against Anelka. Overmars. He provided the one decisive moment of the game so far. Here's Ketsbayer to Shearer. And his control was sloppy. Once again, no real support for Alan Shearer. Winterburn. Nelka getting in front of Debisas, but he was too strong for him in the air. Ketsbayer. Away from Tati. Adams with the intervention. On by Tati to Vieira. Against so forceful in the midfield, Patrick Vieira. Only 21. I think we're going to see him on duty for France in the World Cup finals. Maybe along with Anelka and perhaps Petit. Howie, who's missed out on the England reckoning really because of the many injuries that he's had. He was in the Euro 96 squad. But he's had just one problem after another. Gary Speed on to Shearer. Good turn away from Adams, who left his body in the way. Bit of experience there from the England, or former England captain against the current one.
Yes, yeah, it's a foul, and as you say, Tony Adams knows that he's beaten, doesn't do anything vicious, but just puts his leg there to make sure that Shearer doesn't go past.
Shearer, who scored a blinding goal here, of course, for England against Portugal. Indeed, he got two. Lee's free kick. It won't fall for Shearer. Hoisted away by Keown. And Tia settling for the throw. Pistone. They've got to show some adventure in this second half, Newcastle. There's certainly more poise in the last third of the field. Goal kick. Dixon against Gary Speed. He knows he's there, Dixon.
And again, using his experience, wasn't he, getting his body in front there, and no way Gary Speed could get around him to actually get to the ball.
Paul Durkin ruling in Dixon's favour. One of the old heads at the back, Lee Dixon. Over 450 appearances for Arsenal. Adams is now approaching 600. Ketsbayer to David Batty. Batty again. Shearer's after this one, but Adams is there. And there's John Barnes waiting in the wings. Will he be needed in the second half for Newcastle? Arsenal are preparing to send on David Platt, I gather. Ray Parlour could be the man to make way. Whether there's an injury there, I'm not sure.
Well, he got through an awful lot of work in the first half, didn't he? And towards the end of the season, he has had a tight hamstring, which has kept reoccurring. Maybe that's what's reacted here today. And I say, on a day when, if you've got any injuries, they're going to get found out.
And Howell gone. Mark Overmars with that goal halfway through the first half, still separating the teams in this Wembley FA Cup final. And it's not getting any cooler out there. A very hot day. Keown. Arsenal certainly been hot in patches, not continuously. Newcastle will still fill their in with a shout. On by Shearer, especially when he's out on the field. The most dangerous marksman in the English game. But he has been tightly policed today by those two central defenders, Adams and Keogh. Arsene Wenger, wondering if he is now going to be the first foreign coach to win the FA Cup here. Woodward, of course, player-manager last season with Chelsea. Wenger, the first foreign coach to win the title. Rob Lee. Free kick to Arsenal.
You have to say in this last 5 minutes that Newcastle have picked up the pace a little bit, have taken more of a grip in midfield, but it's that final third of the field they've still yet to create something from. But certainly the midfield performance in the last 5 or 10 minutes has greatly improved.
And they will take encouragement from that, as are the massive Newcastle fans here today, away to my right. It's going to be a blockbuster from Stuart Pearce. It can be absolutely lethal from this range. Pearce lining it up. Arsenal clear their lines, but not for long. It's a promising spell this. Babizas clashing with Adams. Another free kick for Newcastle. Very positive and forceful here, Babizas, until sent flying by Tony Adams. Lee looking to conjure something up for Newcastle here. Off the crossbar from Babizas. Arsenal were really stretched on this occasion. Coming round the back to Babizas, and Arsenal rescued by the crossbar.
Well, certainly that's the first time they've exposed Arsenal at the back, and I'm not sure if it had been a little bit lower that David Seaman would have got to it. He had to make ground from the near post to the far, and that very, very nearly sneaked in.
He knows how close that was, Kenny Dalglish. Nicolas Babizas, who scored recently in the league game against Chelsea. Now it's Ray who's going off, and David Platt, who has come on to replace him. So Ray, not Parler, sacrificed in the reshuffle.
Well, maybe Arsene Wenger's just a little bit worried that the amount of ball that Newcastle have had in the middle of the field in this last 10 minutes, and he feels he needs to really strengthen up that midfield, and Platt can do that job, and also he's still capable of breaking forward. So I would think that's what's in Arsene's thinking. Let's be honest, Arsenal are in front. They don't have to push the game. Newcastle are the ones that's got the problems and have to create something.
Ian Wright has to wait for his chance. Here's Vieira now. Anelka ahead of him. Still Vieira. Oh, if he could have put him away there, it could really have been trouble for Newcastle.
Well, there was a split second then when that move started. Vieira got the ball down at his feet, and there was a simple pass for him to knock Anelka through. If he'd have knocked that pass, Anelka would not have been stopped, and it would have been possibly, you know, as good an opportunity as he'd have had in that first one he headed over.
But the game remains in the balance with just a one goal or step by Keown. Off goes Shearer. Great strike. So unlucky, Alan Shearer. He pounced in an instant then. Seaman was beaten. Saved by the upright.
Well, how many times have we seen that? Alan Shearer hasn't really had any service. He's had no chances, and he's been pretty much out of the game. And then out of nothing, he gets the chance on his weaker side, his left foot. But he certainly had David Seaman beaten, and he had the unlucky sight of it hitting the post and coming back to him. But I would be fair and say David Seaman's angles were excellent and didn't give certainly Alan Shearer as much space as he would like to hit.
He's barely had a sniff of goal all afternoon, Alan Shearer. But suddenly suddenly was in the clear after a mistake there by Keown, who seemed to tread on the ball. Lightning pace from Shearer.
As he hits it here, there's very little for him to aim at. And you can see with David Seaman stretching to his left-hand side, that certainly had to be, from there it just goes past his left hand, and it was always going to hit the post once it had gone past there.
But real hope now for Newcastle that this final is not yet lost. Adams, Shearer, broken up by Patrick Vieira, then Keown to Dixon. Ray Parlour, played on for Anelka. Parlour has continued his run. But a futile journey in the end. But there's a new zest about Newcastle. So now they're on the back foot again with Winterburn going forward for Arsenal. They've got two in the middle. Oh, Platt and Anelka both drifted into the box.
Yeah, it's a good break again here, and there's a couple of balls he could have played once he gets round the outside, but maybe looks at Shea giving off his line, thinking he isn't the biggest goalkeeper in the world. There must be some space behind him I can drop that ball into. But unfortunately, just got too much on it, and it was a harmless ball over the bar in the end.
Ketspire to Lee. Overmars. Well played, Robert Lee. Well, he stuck to his task there, Lee, as Overmars threatened to stride away. Shearer's shot against the post that so nearly brought Newcastle back on level terms. Adams. Overmars. A little careless with his distribution. The Bizas coolly away. Now David Batty in that Newcastle engine room. He's found Shearer. Speed with quick feet. Now Lee. Again, Arsenal back on the defensive. Diaz, but can Newcastle penetrate? Keown with a firm header away. Only as far as the Bizas. Poor selection there by Winterburn. He had a chance to redeem himself. He has kicked it, I think, into touch. Kept in by the Bizas. Pistone. A little more confidence about Newcastle now. But can they find a way through again? Vieira. This is Ray Parlour. Anelka onside. Anelka's away. Good strike. No mistake this time. He spurned a golden opportunity in the first half, but has now tucked this one away with great aplomb.
Well, what did we say about certainly being careful about playing square? And look how square Newcastle were. And once Anelka's the other side of Steve Howe there is no way anybody's going to catch him. And it's a superb strike, with Shea given no chance whatsoever. It really was a marvellous strike into that far corner. But Newcastle have played that game right the way from kick-off, and we said early on, if you continue to do it, you will get caught out. And that's exactly what's happened.
He's 19 years old, and he is going to be a world superstar. Nicolas Anelka, 2-0 for Arsenal. Just over 20 minutes left, and here's speed now, coming back for Newcastle. Ketspire's cross. Seaman has come for it. I think Keown has seen him. But it was really positive then, David Seaman. Anelka. Here's Parlour. He's on his way. Ray Parlour going right through, tripped in by Howie, who's going to be in big trouble. Well, he's claiming there was no connection, but he surely tripped him. There was cover around him, so no dismissal, but a yellow card for Steve Howie.
Well, it was only a slight touch, but I think it was a touch, and I think the only reason that he is on the field is that Dabidaz was also level with him there and might have got a tackle in. But if he hadn't have been there, I think Steve Howie might now have been walking towards the tunnel.
Arsenal in control, 2 goals up. Newcastle thinking about bringing on Anderson, the Swede, but they can't do so for the moment. They have this free kick to defend. Petit on the ball. Overmars alongside. That had made that sprint into the 6-yard box. Relies on Petit, who's gone for the corner. And it wasn't until his 39th game for Arsenal that he finally scored, Petit, a few weeks ago. And he got 2 in 3 games. Oh, it was looking very difficult for Newcastle. Now it's looking even harder. Ketsbayer.
Well, 1 goal would have been difficult the way Arsenal play at the back. And they just had that glimmer of light when Alan Shearer had hit the post, you know, just a few minutes before. With the comeback from 2-0 against Arsenal, I can't think of any side that's done that this season. And certainly the confidence they've got at the moment, I think it'll be very, very difficult, no matter what Kenny Dalglish does, to actually change the outcome of this game now.
Pistone to Barton. Well, it's hard to see now what they can do, Newcastle, to turn this round. Onside must be the verdict there. Now Newcastle are going to make a change. As we see again, that clinical finish from Anelka. It's all about pace and power. Stuart Pearce taking no further part in the cup final. And Andreas Anderson is on to play up front alongside Shearer.
Well, what Newcastle will do, they'll just switch Warren Barton to right back and bring Pistone onto his more favoured left-hand side, and Anderson will get up the front there and give Alan Shearer to some support.
Overmars feeding Parler. Maybe some space now for Arsenal to further exploit. David Platt. And that's off Pistone for a corner. Petit trotting across to take the kick. Adams has stayed back, so has Keown. I think they will feel a 2-goal lead is sufficient. So they're not going to gamble too much. Here's Petit then with the kick. David Platt was near post. So too though was Lee.
I'm just thinking to myself now, it might not be too long before it's an ideal time to introduce Ian Wright into the proceedings. You know, Anelka's just scored a tremendous goal. He's had a decent game out there, but it's very, very hot. You would imagine towards the end, because he is playing up there on his own, he is going to tire a little bit, and you wonder if it won't be too long before maybe Ian Wright does get a show.
Wright, who came off the bench to score twice, of course, for Crystal Palace in the 1990 FA Cup final against Manchester United in a 3-3 draw. He's got 4 goals in cup finals, right. Howie under threat from Diamakine and Anelka. Dabizas. Now Gary Speed, some room in which to manoeuvre here. And again, he can't service Shearer. Winterburn. Ray Parler. He's had another tremendous game for Arsenal. Here's Anelka. Not showing too much of the ball, though, to Steve Howie. He's been a constant menace, Anelka, up front for Arsenal. "15 minutes to go. Ketsbayer. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. He's going with the form book so far. Adams, who's been such a powerhouse at the back, and Kenny Dalglish wondering now how he can change the course of events. Forward by the Bizas. Shearer made a nuisance of himself, but no more than that. Overmars. He's got the legs on Barton. He just caught him then, and he has been cautioned, remember, Warren Barton. Don't think he's going to be dismissed here. Just a reprimand and a final warning, perhaps, from Paul Durkin.
Yes, I think that's what it is. I think it's Warren, be careful, son.
Yeah.
I can't afford to let you get away with that once more. You've had that booking. He might have a problem as well, because Warren, certainly Steve Watson's stripping off on the far side very quickly here, so maybe Warren Barton's got a problem as well.
Yeah, he's walking a little ruefully at the moment. Here is Steve Watson, such a versatile performer. You can slot him in just about anywhere. Petty. For Anelka. He did well to keep it in. Initially, anyway. Now, Malcolm McDonald, who's had a foot in both camps in the past. What do you make of it now, then, Malcolm?
Aren't they so cruel, Arsenal? Just when Newcastle looked as if they were going to get back into the game, and they were looking so positive, and they were getting forward so well. And if you get one chance, you really do have to take it. And then Arsenal, so cruel, they suddenly hit them on the rebound, and then it seems like the game's all over now. But Newcastle had their chance.
Warren Barton is indeed having to go off, and Steve Watson, such a favourite with the Newcastle fans, is on to take his place. First played as a 16-year-old, the youngest ever debutant for the club. Rather in and out of the team lately, but he's had injuries. Indeed, he sustained quite a serious one in the Stevenage replay, I remember. Gary Speed to Shearer. Only a whisker away from an equaliser, but now it's swung further out of Newcastle's reach, thanks to that second goal from Anelka. Overmars, scorer of the first. That was Parler's touch. The Bizas. And Watson, who's simply taken up that right-sided role, vacated by Warren Butt. Anelka in pursuit. Given had to be quick. And Watson.
Well, it's a good job he read that situation, because Anelka was away yet again, and David Has was never going to get close to him. Look, he's away from him, he's not going to catch him. But Shay Given does well there, having read that through ball.
Anelka, who was a controversial signing from Paris Saint-Germain. When he first arrived at Highbury, there were doubters, certainly, wondering if he could acclimatise, whether he could adapt to the English game, but he has certainly proved his critics wrong. He's got stronger and stronger and stronger throughout the season. Lee. Dixon was equally determined. Here's Petit. Overmars ahead of him with Anelka. This is Anelka now. Robbed of the ball, though, by David Batty. Can't find their rhythm again, Newcastle. That was Petit clattering into the tackle. David Platt, outmanoeuvred by Howie. David Platt, who's something of a bit part player these days, and may well be moving into management fairly soon. Shearer down for Anderson. Yet to make a real impact, Anderson, since his move from Milan to St James's Park. Batty, ever competitive in the midfield. Off goes Watson now. But again, there's nothing on for Shearer in that Arsenal penalty box. He's had one side of goal, really, Shearer, today, and he so nearly came up trumps. Batty. It was Petit to Vieira. The axis in midfield. Now Overmars might get through here. And would have done, but for the alertness of Nikos Dabizas. We're into the last 10 minutes. And unless something rather extraordinary happens here, you can't see the final going any way other than in Arsenal's direction. Batty to Pistone, now operating down the left side there. Parler snapping back at him. A sturdy challenge, but a fair one. David Batty. They desperately need a goal now, Newcastle, to revive their flagging hopes here. Watson away from Overmars and Petit. Ketspire. Still they can't probe an opening. Overmars, and always a threat of more Arsenal goals on the break. Vieira for Anelka. Oh, the flag was up a little late. Well, he was offside, but
Anelka was offside. I think why the linesman kept his flag down was that Vieira played the ball through, and it looked like he was going to follow the ball himself. And if he had done that, then he wouldn't have put the flag up. But once Anelka made a move towards it, then it was always offside.
Terrific block then by Tony Adams on Shearer. He has played at Wembley before, Alan Shearer, yet to finish on the winning side. This is his first major final, remember. Anelka shaking off Pistone. Still Anelka. That's Parler.
Well, he shakes his head again. He's had 3 good opportunities now. He covers the ground, Ray Parler. He must have made up 40 yards there. And to be fair, Anelka does well, holds it up, waits for support. But Parler, when he gets sight of that goal, he just gets a little bit excited, and therefore the ball goes over.
Vieira. Arsenal still dictating. John Barnes may be coming on for Newcastle. Here's Keown. He and Adams have kept such a tight rein for the most part on Shearer. As I was saying earlier on, Shearer played here in the old ZDS trophy for Southampton, and he played here in the Charity Shield. Petit. And up comes Gibbon to deny Mark Overmars. Ketspire will make way for John Barnes. We think that's yet to be confirmed. Watson, speed with the flick, but Anderson couldn't latch onto it. Adams, Vieira, dispossessed though by Ketspire. Now it's David Batty. Lee spinning away from Platt, who left his leg trailing. Pistone. That was Keown's header. Ketspire. Now Shearer. What a tackle from Winterburn. No offside. The flag stayed down.
Well, that was a magnificent tackle. It really was. It all opened up for Alan Shearer. Although when the ball's played, he's offside. But the linesman didn't give it. But Winterburn got back there from nowhere. I mean, when that ball drops to Shearer, it's a goal. But that's a magnificent tackle.
Well, they say he's played like a teenager this season. Not a 34-year-old Winterburn. He's there again. So was Shearer. Watson. Foul. I think it was Vieira's challenge, the initial one. Well, no question, Winterburn saved the day in depriving Alan Shearer of a goal. He was on the spot again seconds later. And now here's an opportunity for Newcastle. 5 minutes to save the game. Ketspire now going off. And John Barnes makes his 5th appearance in an FA Cup final. The winner back in '89 with Liverpool. Also played here for Watford, I remember, back in '84, wasn't it? Against Everton. And Shearer. Not his day.
No, it's certainly not, but he's got it through the wall. I mean, I think it was Well, been Overmars on the end of the wall, turned his back, and it went through there. And thankfully for Arsenal, it was wide of the post.
Well, they've certainly had a scare or two, Arsenal, in the second half. But the second goal, you would think now, has killed off Newcastle's challenge. Dabizas. 4 minutes to go. Winterburn straight to Batty. Wenger's team on the verge of the double, and inevitably Ray, comparisons with 71. You were around, of course, for the final then with Liverpool.
Yes, I think this is a different side. You know, Arsenal in 71 were very strong defensively, as this side is.
And Nelka.
But apart from that, they're a more direct side in 71. They had Radford and Kennedy up the front, who were excellent strikers, but different. You know, the strikers they've got here, and Anelka and Ray.
And Parler going through now. What a match he's had, Ray Parler.
Well, he's not on the score sheet, but he's done everything else in this game. That's a certainty. He's made something for himself out of absolutely nothing there, and just hits the upright after breaking through. But I would think he's got to be a contender for man of the match.
But not a contender for England's final World Cup party, omitted by Glenn Hoddle. Maybe if Glenn, I'm sure he's watching today, maybe he'll be having second thoughts on the strength of his contribution this afternoon to the Arsenal cause. Batty being harassed by Platt. Arsenal almost there. Pistone. Anderson. Laid off by Barnes. Anderson. Away from Adams. And Seaman keeping a watchful eye on it as Dabizas came hurrying forward again. He's had a storming game, Ray Parler. They'd on that chance early on, remember, for Anelka. He's been surging down the flank. His industry, his commitment has been first class. And as the Arsenal flags, which are waving now, wildly away to my left. Overmars. Oh! So nearly caught out Shea Given. Very quick thinking.
Well, that would have been one of the goals at Wembley, wouldn't it?
Watson. Now Dabizas. Steve Watson again. Still the Newcastle fans encouraging their team. Anderson wriggling through, still Anderson. And Gary Speed has hit it wide. And the expressions say it all.
Well, that sums it up, doesn't he? What few chances that Newcastle have had, they've just not had that ounce of luck that you need. Anders Anderson does really well here, lays a good ball back, and what's that? Inches, coat of paint, whatever you want to call it, but it's not going to go in for him today, and it's Arsenal's day.
The despair of Kenny Dalglish. So often a Wembley winner. Almost into injury time. Here's Shearer, who's come so close to a Newcastle goal. Keown making sure he made no real impression there, although he has won the corner. Is he going to get his Wembley goal today, Alan Shearer? Dabizas has arrived in the middle as well. I think he got his head to the ball there. Laid off to Watson. Vieira. That spidery touch. Goal kick. And maybe Newcastle's last chance has gone. The Arsenal fans certainly believe so. Wonderful colour. And it's made for a cracking atmosphere, with the vocal support that Newcastle fans have given to their team as well. They haven't stopped cheering all afternoon. This is Grimondi. I don't think he's going to have time to do too much. Getting his taste of an FA Cup final, maybe, in the dying seconds. John Barnes, who's experienced it all before, but is going to be on the losing side again today. Keown. Bizas looking out for Overmars. I think he's quite a talent, this fellow, De Bizas. Shearer. Still Newcastle pressing, still hoping for some kind of consolation now. At least they've given it a real go in the second half. But it's a league and cup double for Arsenal, for the class of 71. Read now, the heroes of 98. Overmars with a goal that sent them on their way. Winterburn with that vital challenge played on Alan Shearer. Only the second club in the history of the English game to complete the double-double. Arsenal have now emulated Manchester United's successes from 94 and 96. And Arsene Wenger has written his name into the record books in the most astounding fashion. The first foreign manager to win the English title, now the FA Cup to follow as well. Utter dejection for Steve Watson and the Newcastle team. Well, it's a truly amazing achievement by Arsene Wenger, the man whose managerial adventure in this country is only in its second season. And no doubt about it, Ray Clements, they won the game in some style.
Yes, they did exactly what they had to do. You know, they were always in charge. There was a spell at the start of the second half where certainly Newcastle got into the game a little bit more, certainly in the midfield areas. But apart from the mistake by Martin Keown, which allowed Alan Shearer the clear-cut opportunity which he hit the post with, apart from that, really, Newcastle have never opened up the Arsenal defence at all. And therefore, Arsenal have been comfortable, have hit on the break. And when you've got the pace of Overmars and that man there, Anelka, then you've always got chances of scoring. And they were the two people who had the influence in the end to actually put the balls in the net.
It was finishing of the highest class. Dennis Bergkamp there. So sad at missing out on the final, but so pleased for his teammates. What a part he has played. The PFA and Players Player of the Year, the Football Writers Player of the Year as well, Dennis Bergkamp. What a part he's played in their success. Their win here today really confirming what had seemed apparent for quite a few months now. The balance of power in the highest echelons of English football has swung unerringly from Old Trafford to Highbury. Make no mistake, Arsenal's achievement in taking the double is just reward for the stunning way in which their exceptional season has come alive. Well, Malcolm McDonald, you would feel for Newcastle, but I'm sure admire the way Arsenal have set about their task this afternoon.
Peter, I couldn't agree with you more. I was so impressed with the way that Newcastle came back in the second half. They came back with such spirit. They had chances that could have won them the game. But in the end, well, what an incredible achievement for Arsenal, that in the last 3 decades, they've actually won 2 doubles. And I think it is just something quite astounding. It's been such a privilege to be here today, to see Arsenal win the double. But really, I do feel so much for Newcastle, because it was just a coat of paint, as Ray Clements said, that stopped them from getting back into the game when Alan Shearer hit the post. And then they've had chances after that. And, I do feel for them. I've been down there, I've been in that losing position. And I know how it feels to be so near yet so far away from that piece of silverware it's so important to everybody on Tyneside, and how sad that area is going to be. But nevertheless, the team did not disgrace themselves. They really did come back with a fight back in the second half.
Beaming smile from David Seaman, and even from Ian Wright. I say even takes a lot to curb that man's enthusiasm, but he didn't get on today, Ray, Ian Wright, and he had a consoling arm around his shoulder from Arsene Wenger, I saw there.
Yes, he'll be disappointed, Ian Wright, because obviously, you know, he wants as many games as he possibly can because of the time he's been out this year and with the internationals coming forward as well. But he'll be disappointed from that point of view, but he loves Arsenal, and he'll be as pleased as anybody. Arsenal have done that double, and they won't have the 71 team thrown down their neck again, as has happened since that era.
Well, sympathy as ever for the losers. Newcastle, starved of success for so long, were so anxious to wipe out the memory of their rather dismal showing here on their last cup final visit back in '74. Sir John Hall there, the chairman, who stepped back into the breach after all the unsavoury moments behind the scenes at Newcastle. The loser's medal for Alan Shearer, his first major cup final. Kenny Dalglish's team have to accept second best again on the day at the end of a season which certainly hasn't lived up to expectations. One of their oldest fans there, but they're here today in all shapes and sizes, all ages, and they have been wonderful supporters, those who follow Newcastle. But what a season for Arsenal, breathtaking at times with the quality of their football en route to the Championship. Now they've triumphed at Wembley. Their second FA Cup final win in 5 years, their 7th overall, one more now than Newcastle. It's the double-double for Arsenal. And what an inspiration the man we saw there in the picture, Ray Clements, Tony Adams, has been.
Well, you look at those two men in the pictures before, you know, Tony Adams and David Seaman. You know, what an influence they've got on the Arsenal side. Tony Adams in particular, because he's a leader and he can get to other people around the field. But Tony Adams knows how important that David Seaman is to him behind him, in terms of if they ever get past that back four, then they've got one hell of a task to get it past David Seaman. And although Alan Shearer's one opportunity on his left foot there, he did beat David Seaman. David had his angles totally correct, and although it went past his left hand, I think David, being the confident person that he was, would have said to you now, but I knew it was either going to hit the post or it would go wide, because he had the rest of the goal covered.
David Dein there, the man who brought Arsene Wenger to the club. A lot of people said, Arsene who? He was confident that Wenger was the man, and how right he has been proved. So Tony Adams leads the Arsenal team to the FA Cup. He becomes the first Arsenal captain to hold the trophy aloft on 2 separate occasions. And really, in the history of this famous competition, can there have been a more inspirational figure with his hands on the trophy? The cup belongs to Arsenal. And after all his personal troubles off the field, this surely, for all his success in the past, must be Tony Adams' most satisfying season.
I would think so, because, you know, he has had problems this year with injuries, and there was one stage where people wondered if he could actually get back in the side this year. But not only has he come back, he's come back stronger, he's come back a bigger influence, and certainly him and Keown, who's now holding the cup up there, you know, they've formed an outstanding partnership there, which has kept Steve Bold out of the team. But you know, Keown and Adams, very, very difficult to get past, and of course with the understanding of Winterburn on one side and Wright and Lee Dixon on the other, then, you know, they proved a very, very strong force.
Arsenal worthy winners of the FA Cup. And that's it from myself, Peter Brackley, and from Ray Clements. I'll hand you back now to John Helm with Malcolm McDonald. John?
Thank you very much indeed, Peter. Our congratulations certainly go to Arsenal. There's been some symmetry about it, if you like, this week. I, earlier in the week, saw Chelsea win the European Cup Winners' Cup for the first time since 1971. What a coincidence that Arsenal today should do the double for the first time since 1971.
It's amazing, isn't it? History repeating itself. But I was just watching there Tony Adams raising the cup as captain of Arsenal. He really is a giant amongst men, that guy. And he is out there today. He's taken on Alan Shearer, and he really has been absolutely magnificent. But I was listening also to Peter and Ray earlier, and they were mentioning Ray Parlour. And look, here we go, the first ever foreign coach to raise the FA Cup.
You talked about the style of Arsenal. Now that shows the style of Arsenal. A player who's missed out in a big way today, Dennis Bergkamp, able to go and show off the silverware.
Absolutely, everybody takes part at Arsenal. They always do it so well, and it's as important to be a part of the squad as it is to be a member of the team. That everybody has got such an important role to play, and it's lovely to see Dennis Bergkamp with the FA Cup. It's a shame that we didn't see him play today.
Well, let's have a look at the second goal, which really did clinch it, and how ironic it came only a couple of minutes after Alan Shearer had struck the upright at the other end, and Nelka has had a wonderful game.
But that's how cruel Arsenal can be. And yes, this is devastating finish by Anelka. Beautiful control on his chest, and he sees Given coming out of his goal, and he just sizes it up nicely. Thank you, I'll stick this one in the corner. And what a way to win the game.
But didn't that sum up the difference between the two sides today? Alan Shearer hits the inside of an upright, and right in the last minute Gary Speed should have scored here, and Nicholas Anelka, given a chance, scored.
Absolutely, yes. Newcastle have had the chances, but you know, that really is how fine a line it is between winning and losing. That Alan Shearer's hit the inside of the post, and Anelka's shot goes inside into the corner.
Well, 150 million people around the world from 150 countries have been watching this transmission, and I'm going to let them all into a secret now, Malcolm. Before this game started, an hour before, when the two teams were out on the pitch, you said to me, Arsenal are going to win today, and I'll tell you why. Now, why was that?
Yes, I did. I watched both teams coming out when they were still in their suits before they got changed. And Newcastle, they came out and they didn't get further than the penalty area nearest to the tunnel. Arsenal came out and walked all over the pitch, and they were comfortable, they were at home, and they knew that they had the feel of Wembley. And Newcastle, to me, looked timid and they looked nervous, and that's exactly how they played in the first half. And the second half wasn't long enough for them to get back into it.
How great can this team now become?
They can get better and better and better. Good heavens, Anelka, 19. Where he's going to go, heaven only knows. The guy is such a wonderful talent. Alan Shearer, now he's got to go and do it in the World Cup. That's going to be his target, and for sure he's going to get better service with England than he gets at Newcastle.
Newcastle did give it a go in the second half, as you said, and it seemed to me that in midfield David Batty and Gary Speed suddenly started to get a bit of self-belief.
Yes, they did, and they seemed to get a little bit more width, and that was so important, and they stretched Arsenal out somewhat. Arsenal couldn't control the game so much, and hence Newcastle started to get forward, and you know, when they go forward, they're such an exciting side to watch. But there is just one point that I would make, that we can just look at the second half. It's all too easy to do that, but there was a superb goal scored in the first half, and that was what set it all up for Arsenal, and it was that guy Overmars, and that bit of pace, that lightning pace, and then the lightning pace of Anelka in the second half. I tell you, it's pace that wins games.
Well, what a year for the City of London. Chelsea won the Cup Winners' Cup and the Coca-Cola Cup. Arsenal won the Premier League and the FA Cup. This was the third time Arsenal and Newcastle United had contested the most famous cup final of all. In 1932, Newcastle won 2-1. In 1952, Newcastle won again 1-0. But 1998 will be remembered as Arsenal's year. They've repeated their feat of 1971 and won a famous Cup and League double. They've gained revenge for those two previous defeats, and they've vanquished Newcastle for the first time at Wembley. The 1998 FA Cup winners are the mighty Arsenal.